What if your heartfelt donation to a church wasn't building wells for the poor or rescuing trafficking victims, but instead bankrolling mansions, luxury cars, and a hidden empire of forced labor? Today, we're diving into a shocking federal indictment that's ripping the veil off an alleged human trafficking ring disguised as a religious ministry leader's arrested, 50 million in donations siphoned, and lives shattered. Stick around as we unpack this story layer by layer, exploring not just what happened, but why it could happen in America today. Let's start at the heart of this disturbing case. Federal authorities have arrested David Taylor, 53, and Michelle Brannon, 56, the alleged masterminds behind what prosecutors describe as a multi-state operation that exploited vulnerable people under the banner of faith. According to the Justice Department, this scheme, running since 2014, used the Kingdom of God Global Church, previously known as Joshua Media Ministries International, to lure in victims with promises of meaningful work in a religious calling. Taylor styled himself as the Apostle, with Brannon as his executive director, and together they allegedly built a network of call centers in Michigan, Missouri, Florida, and Texas. Here's how it reportedly worked. Victims were recruited from across the country to staff these call centers, where they were tasked with soliciting donations. The pitch? Heart-tugging stories of charitable works like digging water wells in impoverished overseas communities or aiding human trafficking survivors. But the indictment claims these were outright lies. Instead of going to good causes, the money totaling around 50 million over the years allegedly flowed straight into Taylor and Brannon's pockets, funding opulent properties and high-end vehicles. It's a classic bait and switch, but with a spiritual twist that makes it all the more insidious. Now, why would anyone fall into this trap? Let's dig deeper. Prosecutors say the victims weren't just employees, they were essentially captives in a system of coercion. Taylor allegedly required them to hit strict quotas, either rake in a set amount of donations or make a relentless number of calls. Failure wasn't an option. The indictment details punishments like sleep deprivation, food restrictions, or even physical abuse for those who didn't measure up. And to maintain control, Taylor reportedly ordered victims to sever ties with family or friends who dared question him or the church. No dating, no outside jobs, and often they had to sleep right there in the call centers. Taylor's philosophy, as outlined in the charges, disobeying him was defying God himself, with eternal damnation as the consequence. This isn't just about money. It's about psychological domination wrapped in religious rhetoric. But let's pause and think about the broader implications. In a country where freedom of religion is enshrined in the Constitution, how does something like this allegedly thrive for over a decade? America has a long history of charismatic leaders building empires on faith, from televangelists to megachurches. The allure is powerful. People seek community, purpose, and hope, especially in tough times. Economic pressures, isolation, or personal crises can make someone vulnerable to promises of divine work. Taylor and Brannon allegedly exploited that trust, turning a sacred space into a profit machine. It's a reminder that while most religious organizations do genuine good, the lack of oversight in some nonprofit sectors can create blind spots. Tax-exempt status for churches means less financial transparency, which might allow bad actors to hide in plain sight. Yet this case also highlights the system's safeguards, federal investigations that eventually bring allegations to light. Shifting gears, consider the victims on both sides. First, the workers. These weren't random callers. They were people drawn in by the ministry's facade, only to find themselves in what prosecutors call forced labor. As Taylor's armor bearers, some allegedly served as personal servants, handling his every whim. The indictment paints a picture of isolation and fear, where questioning authority meant risking everything. Then there are the donors, ordinary folks from Michigan, Florida, Texas, and Missouri who thought they were making a difference. The Justice Department emphasizes that they too were victimized, their generosity twisted into fuel for luxury. Imagine picking up the phone, hearing a plea for help, and wiring money only to learn it never reached those in need. That betrayal erodes public trust in charities, potentially deterring future giving to legitimate causes. Why does this matter on a deeper level? In American culture, where philanthropy is a cornerstone, think of the billions donated annually to faith-based groups. This alleged scheme strikes at the core of our values. We're a nation built on second chances and community support. But stories like this fuel cynicism. Psychologically, it taps into the power of authority. Studies show people are more likely to comply when commands come from a perceived divine source, a phenomenon seen in everything from historical cults to modern scams. Taylor's self-proclaimed apostleship allegedly weaponized that, blending spirituality with control. Economically, the 50 million figure underscores how lucrative these operations can be, especially in a digital age where call centers can reach donors nationwide without much scrutiny. As we move forward, the legal road ahead is telling. Taylor was nabbed in Durham, North Carolina, and Brannon in Tampa, Florida, following a federal grand jury indictment in the Eastern District of Michigan. They're each facing 8 counts of forced labor, plus 1 each for conspiracy to commit forced labor and money laundering conspiracy, a total of 10 counts apiece. If convicted, they could face serious prison time. Though remember, these are allegations. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Attorneys for both weren't available for comment right after the arrests, so we'll have to watch how their defense unfolds. But beyond the courtroom, this story prompts us to reflect. How can we protect against such abuses without infringing on religious freedoms? Experts suggest simple steps like verifying charities through sites like Charity Navigator or the IRS database before donating. For those in vulnerable positions, recognizing red flags like demands to cut off loved ones or extreme quotas could be life-saving. America's diverse religious landscape is a strength, but vigilance ensures it remains a force for good. Wrapping this up, the arrests of Taylor and Brannon shine a harsh light on the dark underbelly of unchecked power in faith communities. It's a cautionary tale about the fine line between inspiration and manipulation, reminding us that true charity uplifts without exploiting. If this story resonates, hit that like button, subscribe for more in-depth news breakdowns on Libo News, and share your thoughts in the comments. What do you think drives these schemes? Stay informed, stay safe, and we'll catch you in the next video.